Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cottage. I'm Joey, the Veiled Cottage Witch, and welcome to episode 4 of my Celtic Tree Ogham Series. I am having so much fun digging into the lore of these beautiful Celtic trees. I am so excited to talk about the willow. It's probably one of my favorites in this first branch, the branch of beginnings. It is 4 slashes to the right for righties. And this is definitely my favorite Ogham stave from my collection of natural staves because it feels so smooth and comforting. And you will see why when we get to that part. It feels as if it should feel comforting. Look at that beautiful weeping willow. That's probably my favorite form of the willow, but it has so many different species of willow, as we will see. This is another form right along the riverbank, and we will go into that. But look at the face, if you can see. It is such a... it's a grieving tree, so it's not one of these happy faces in the Spirit of Nature oracle. So willow is one of the 7 noble trees according to Brayan law. It's usually associated with water and the moon. So all willow varieties thrive near water, and their position by riverbanks naturally connects them to alder. If you're like, wait a minute, we're talking about the same tree. Not quite. The alder was called the king of the waters, but willow was the queen. So we're talking about a much more feminine tree. It's connected with the other world in the Celtic mind, be that fairy, the other world of the ancestors, or the realm of the gods. So much of its teaching has to do with crossing the boundaries between different states of existence, particularly around issues related to mortality. It also alludes to moonlight, when everything appears to be subtly altered. So it's sacred to the moon and the feminine qualities of flexibility and flow, and the mysterious wisdom of intuition and emotion. Those are all present in the willow's energy. Now, its position, so often near water, yet actually preserving the dry land, illustrate its lesson of holding these qualities in balance with the demands of our often more solar daily lives. So if you were to speak of it in tarot terms, I speak tarot, so if you speak tarot, whereas alder would be the magician, willow would be the high priestess, if that makes sense. The willow is sacred to the Welsh goddess Ceridwen, who rules over the moon. Her cauldron of transformation grants poetic vision, otherwise known as psychic ability or prophecy. It is also sacred to gods of eloquence, perhaps because of its ability to restore the flow of emotions and ideas. Apollo, Orpheus, and Belinus all received their eloquence from the willow. Now, psychic vision, often seen as seership, in the Celtic lands was a gift that was highly respected and valued by people of all walks of life. Seers were able to glimpse through the veil into the heart of events, perhaps perceive the spirit world and give prophecy and advice. The willow has always been associated with those with gifts of divination, clairvoyance, and magic, as well as emotional sensitivity and empathy. And like the willow at the water's edge, it supports people who stand between two realms, the mortal world and that of spirit. So think about mediums and channels, okay? Several Druidic practices utilize dreaming as an oracular tool, say that 5 times fast, either by sleeping by a riverbank close to willows or by sleeping in a special hut after making offerings and remaining there until they received a vision. A practice known as imbus forosnai, an altar had been found to the Gaulish god Asus, depicting a priest cutting slips of white willow while cranes fly overhead, illustrating the willow's use in shamanic flight and divination. So this tree is highly, highly psychic. And it gave off that psychic energy. That's why it drew in those seers. Now, the willow is a tree sacred to poems, and willows are often associated with poetry and bardic gifts. As a result of the ability to cross into other realms that the willow enabled, the bardic may have access to imbus or awen, that is, divine inspiration, and poetic or shamanic vision, a glimpse of the infinite. The willow is connected to bees as messengers between the mortal world and the gods, and honey, which was often used to describe the gift of prophecy upon the tongue. Gotta love honey. Now, the bards of old were powerful magical practitioners, able to weave spells and transformations with their poetry and song, or inflict terrible curses upon those they scorned. The willow was a powerful ally to bards, and harps were traditionally made of willow, not only because it was excellent for their construction, but because the spirit of the willow would magically support their work, increasing the flow to and from the other world. It would just magically let them come into trance so they can slip into the other world while they made the music. How wonderful is that? The famous and beautiful harp of Brian Boru, made in the 14th century, is made entirely of willow. The willow often appears in mythologies around the world as the site of a god or goddess's first appearance, as if they are birthed into the tale from the other world beneath its boughs. The coffin of the Egyptian god Osiris was found amongst willows, while his soul, in the form of a phoenix, sat in its branches. Willows were also sacred to the goddess Hathor. An inscription on the wall in her temple at Dendera says, "O divine spirits, come enjoy, playing the tambourine continuously. The women are delighted. The inhabitants of Dendera are joyful. The goddesses are adorned with crown of willow." So, yeah, very, very sacred, very sacred. The Greek goddess Artemis was also associated with the willow, especially due to its connections with the moon, and it was said she was discovered amongst willow trees. Another goddess associated with the willow is Hecate, or Hecate, however you pronounce it, who may have originated in Anatolia, but later was worshipped as part of the Greek pantheon. Now, Hecate is usually depicted carrying a torch and considered a crown goddess, a crone goddess. Originally, she had 3 faces of equal age, and she is considered to have rulership over earth, sea, and sky, and she is a light bringer, a savior, and mother of the world soul. However, her triple nature also connects her with the 3 phases of the moon, hence her connection to all plants under its rulership, especially the willow. Hecate rules over all liminal spaces, especially gateways and the wilderness. Again, we see the connection with willow as a tree linking the waters of the other world with the land and mortal realm. Hecate is also associated with ghosts, demons, and the dead. She is related to witchcraft and sorcery, and offerings at crossroads were made at the full moon to seek her protection from evil spirits. Willow is also connected to the Celtic goddess Brigid, who is said to bring the spring after defeating or having transformed from the Cailleach, the old woman of winter. At Brigid's festival, Imbolc, on February 2nd, she is said to carry a white willow wand tipped with an acorn she uses to control the weather. Here we see the willow functioning as a mediator and moderator of liminal spaces. In this case, the boundaries between winter and spring, another clue to the willow's energy and magic. You guys, there's so much lore to this tree. And we have so many clues from this lore. I almost didn't write a section on the magical purposes because we already know from the lore, but I included it anyway, in case you weren't paying attention. Now, it is one of the few trees which can regenerate and make a new tree should a single branch of twig be placed in the soil. It has such strong life force that such branches can grow several feet in one season. You just have to stick a branch in the ground, nurture it, and you have a willow tree. How amazing is that? Now, although it is associated with death and grieving, the weeping willow also has a long association with dispelling sadness and recovering from emotional darkness. It is often planted in cemeteries and depicted on gravestones for the dual purpose of both expressing and relieving grief. Branches carried in funeral processions symbolize the sadness of the mourners as well as rebirth for the deceased. In England, the drape of the weeping willow branches became a symbol for the forsaken love. Have you guys noticed the weeping willow in cemeteries? I have, and I've always wondered why. And now you can see it's so full of emotion that it drapes itself. And so it's almost like it's grieving along with the mourners. I just find that so fascinating. Now, in parts of Germany, will-o'-the-wisps, witches, and evil water spirits were believed to lurk in the vicinity of these trees. In the moors of southwest England, travelers told stories of being followed by willow trees, which is why walking past one at night was usually avoided. That's freaking creepy. No, thank you. That is, nightmare fuel. Being followed by a willow tree? No way. That's creepy. Nope. I will not walk past one at night. Thanks to my research, I've thoroughly freaked myself out, which happens sometimes with lore. Wait till you guys watch my magical plant series on the poppy. I have freaked myself out again on that one. Anyway, on to practical and magical uses. Now, the willow is the comforter. Remember, I told you when I picked this up and I touch it, it brings me comfort. Here's why. It assists in easing the difficult feelings that arise from the periods of change and the sense of loss that often follows. It can be seen as having an affinity with motherly and crone energies for this reason, soothing the pain of sacrifice and the bitterness of letting go, surrendering to the cycles of mortal lives. The willow is used in basket making as well as for constructing hurdles and fences, and was the favored wood for harps, of course. So willow wands can be used for protection and guidance for otherworld and underworld journeys, and as a tool to help anchor someone with psychological or emotional distress. So for me, what that means is if they are going on a trance or a vision quest or an astral journey, they can hold a willow wand while they travel, so it'll anchor them so they don't feel afraid. That's, for me, that's how I would use it. I would have somebody who's very scared. I would have them hold a willow branch, and that would help them not get the fear. Don't get the fear, hold this willow branch. Now, it also has uses in weather magic, healing, and fertility spells. Now, tipped with an acorn, it becomes a phallic, life-giving wand, impregnating all it touches with new life and vigor. So be careful with that. Now, if you don't want to start nothing, don't do it. Now, willow is good for all sorts of moon magic, and willow whips or cord are great for binding spells. It is a traditional material for practical binding tasks, especially in making brooms like witches' besoms. Willow talismans are good for love and healing spells and for aligning oneself closer to all lunar goddesses. So you could use this as your sigil. Too easy, way too easy. Now, although it is associated with death and grieving, the weeping willow also has a long association with dispelling sadness and recovering from emotional darkness. Again, if you don't have willow, you can use the Ogham for willow. Too easy, you guys. Way too easy. If you're like, well, I don't have any willow anywhere around me, this is why you have the Ogham. This is the link to the tree. So you don't have to have willow. You can simply draw the Ogham. This is why I'm teaching you guys this. This is the secret. All right. So on to linked concepts. All right. So anytime you're dealing with intuition, psychic ability, lunar influence, emotional comfort, the other world, prophecy, and grief, you can utilize the willow tree or Saille. Saille. All right. So on to correspondences. The elements are fire and water. The zodiac are Aries, Capricorn, Pisces, Taurus, and Aquarius. The deities are Artemis, Athena, Brigid, Caradwin, Danu, Demeter and Ceres, Diana, Hecate, Hera, Hermes, Loki, the Morrigan, Persephone, Poseidon, Rhiannon, and Zeus. The color, fiery, iridescent blues. Any of those will work. Totems, the bee, the dove, the deer, the hare, the hawk, the snowy owl, elves, fairies, and water sprites, of course. The calendar, this is just one set of dates. There are other dates, but this makes the most sense to me, so this is what I'm teaching, just as an aside. January 24th to February 20th, it's the fourth lunation and February. Related species are the Salix aspen, cottonwood, and the poplar. Now, medicinal uses. Now, the chemical salicin present in all willow species in varying degrees has great pain-killing properties, which have been used since ancient times and are still used in modern medicine today as aspirin. It helps to lower fevers as well, and it is a good styptic, stopping bleeding quickly. It helps with sore throats, and as a disinfectant, willow tea has been used to soak bandages as a compress. The leaves can be chewed to help with mouth ulcers like canker sores. Oh, those are the worst. Not only can it assist in healing emotional distress, but as a vibrational essence, and if you're not sure what that is, watch my birch video, Faith Birch, episode 1. It heals all forms of emotional bitterness and resentment, dissolving areas where we have become hardened. Willow helps restore flow and harmony within ourselves and in the world around us. It also helps us come to terms with intuition and repressed feminine aspects in both sexes. So, I love this bag so much. So if we were to draw Saille Willow, right? I'm doing my little act, drawing Saille Willow. It would mean harmony and balance, being in tune with feeling and wisdom that comes from otherworld sources and dreams. It encourages emotional and practical flexibility, helps expand awareness and knowledge of the other world and altered states of consciousness. It inspires healing and a gentle, forgiving attitude and compassion. It gently asks you to tune into your heart and move forward aligned with your heart's wisdom. And it grants otherworldly magic and insights. So this, if I drew this, it would tell me to get in touch with my intuition and pull wisdom from that, and maybe go on an otherworldly journey to find emotional awareness and enter an altered state of consciousness in order to find that inspiration. Okay? Now, upside down, roots up, it would mean being overwhelmed with emotions, right? And the need to develop psychic shielding and perhaps emotional upheaval. Yeah? All right. So that was Saille Willow. Please put any questions that you have down below in the comments, because I love this tree and I could talk about it all day. But I'm sure you guys don't want to hear everything. So if you have any further questions, please put them down below in the comment section. If I don't know the answer, I can find it out for you. Please give this video a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss episode 5, which we'll be talking about Noon Ash, and that will complete the first branch. So I'm excited. Yeah, this will be the completion of the first branch, and then we'll move on to the second one. So that's going to be great. Thank you guys for sticking with me. I am having so much fun with this series. So thank you. Please visit my website at theveiledcottagewitch.com, where you can book a reading with my reader, Bobby Fierro, over at Wild Raven Tarot here on YouTube. Amazing channel, amazing reader, amazing human being. So please check him out. You can also shop my holistic healing products and my magical and spell supplies. But don't forget to punch in the code word at checkout, all caps veiled, to get free shipping. You guys, that is a huge discount and my gift from me to you just for watching my channel. So don't forget to do that. If you'd like to financially support this channel, you can do so by buying me a coffee. All the details are down below, or you could just scan this QR code right here, but absolutely no pressure. Just live your best life and live for yourself. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.